Most people think businesses fail because of bad ideas, lack of money, or not working hard enough. That's the story we're told, but it's not the truth. According to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 20% of small businesses fail in their first year. By the fifth year, nearly half are gone. After 10 years, only about a third are still operating. That's not a motivation problem, that's not a talent problem, and it's definitely not a passion problem. It's a structural problem. Most businesses fail for one simple reason. The owner builds the business around themselves instead of building systems that can run without them. Let me explain what I mean. Imagine someone who is very good at something. Maybe they're great at baking, designing, repairing electronics, cutting hair, or creating products by hand. People notice, compliments come in. Eventually, someone says, "You should start a business." So they do. At first, everything feels right. Sales come in, customers are happy, the owner feels proud. They're finally working for themselves. But slowly, something changes. They're no longer just doing the thing they're good at. They're answering emails, they're managing inventory, they're dealing with customers, employees, suppliers, rent, taxes, and deadlines. And over time, the business starts to feel heavier instead of freer. This is the exact problem Michael Gerber explains in The E-Myth Revisited. The myth is the belief that being good at a skill means you'll naturally be good at running a business built around that skill. But those are two completely different jobs. Doing the work and running the business are not the same thing. And when people confuse the two, they end up building a job instead of a business. Gerber explains that every business owner is actually operating as three different people at the same time. The first role is the technician. This is the part of you that knows how to do the work. This is the baker baking, the designer designing, the developer coding, the soap maker making soap. Most businesses start here. People are technicians first. The second role is the manager. This role is responsible for organizing, planning, scheduling, tracking, and maintaining order. The manager wants stability. They want things done properly and on time. The third role is the entrepreneur. This is the visionary, the person thinking about the future, the person asking where the business is going, how it grows, and what it could become. The problem is that most business owners spend almost all of their time stuck as technicians. They're doing the work all day, then trying to manage and think strategically when they're already exhausted. So the manager and the entrepreneur never get the attention they need. This creates constant tension. The technician wants to work, the manager wants order, the entrepreneur wants growth. And when one person tries to play all three roles without structure, burnout becomes inevitable. This is why so many business owners feel trapped. They don't feel like owners. They feel like overworked employees who can't quit. Now let's talk about how businesses actually grow. Gerber explains that businesses go through predictable development phases. The first phase is infancy. In infancy, the owner does everything. Every task depends on them. If they stop working, the business stops functioning. At first, this feels empowering, but very quickly it becomes exhausting. The second phase is adolescence. This is when the owner realizes they can't do everything alone, so they hire help. But here's the mistake most people make. They hire people without systems. So instead of freedom, they get complexity. They're still doing most of the work, but now they're also managing people. They're answering emails all day. They're fixing mistakes. They're redoing tasks because it's faster if I just do it myself. This phase is where many businesses stall or collapse. The owner is overwhelmed, frustrated, and disappointed because the business isn't delivering the freedom they expected. The final phase is maturity. Maturity has nothing to do with the age of the business. It's about how the business is designed. A mature business runs on systems, not on the owner's constant involvement. This is where a major mindset shift happens. Instead of asking, "How can I do this better?" you start asking, "How can this be done consistently without me?" That question changes everything. This is what Gerber calls franchise thinking. Franchise thinking doesn't mean you plan to franchise. It means you design your business so that it could be franchised. Franchises succeed not because of extraordinary people, but because of ordinary people following extraordinary systems. The power is not in the person, it's in the process. If your business falls apart when one person leaves, that's not a business, that's a dependency. A real business is built so that results are predictable, repeatable, and independent of any single individual. So how do you actually build that? It starts with documentation.
Instead of keeping everything in your head, you write it down. Every recurring task becomes a documented process: how orders are handled, how questions are answered, how work is reviewed, how problems are resolved, not in vague terms, but step by step. Think of it like a recipe. A recipe doesn't rely on talent or memory, it relies on clarity. Once a process is documented, it becomes teachable. Once it's teachable, it becomes scalable. This is where the owner's role begins to change. You stop being the person who does everything. You become the person who designs how everything is done. That's a fundamental shift. You move from operator to architect, from worker to owner, from reacting to planning. This doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually, system by system. You don't replace yourself all at once. You replace yourself in pieces, one task at a time, one process at a time. Now let's talk about how this fits into long-term growth. Gerber outlines a clear framework for business development that works in stages. First comes vision. You need to know what kind of business you're actually building, not just what it does, but how it operates and what role you want to play in it. Second comes organization. You define roles, responsibilities, and structure so the business doesn't rely on guesswork. Third comes systems. This is where processes are designed, tested, and refined so results are consistent. Fourth comes people. You hire and train people to operate within the systems, not to replace your memory. Fifth comes marketing, not random promotion, but a repeatable process for attracting the right customers. Sixth comes financial clarity. You understand the numbers, track performance, and make decisions based on data instead of stress. And finally, continuous improvement. Because no business stays static, systems evolve, markets change, improvement never stops. When these elements work together, the business becomes stable, scalable, and sustainable, and most importantly, it stops consuming the owner's life. Here's the key takeaway. Most businesses don't fail because the owner isn't smart enough or hard enough. They fail because the business was never designed to function without the owner. If you build a business that depends on your constant presence, you don't gain freedom as it grows, you lose it. But if you build systems first, people second, and yourself out of the center of operations, the business becomes a tool instead of a trap. So ask yourself this honestly: is your business built around you or built to run without you? Because that answer determines whether you own a business or whether your business owns you. If this helped you see things differently, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. This is Powerful Brains, where smarter thinking leads to better outcomes.